Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Visual Effects Artists React. Today we're looking at Aliens. We've been wanting to do some Aliens-specific React, and it's finally time for us to break down some amazing shots from these films. We're not gonna look at absolutely everything in this video. We're gonna get started.
Hey, real quick, before we get into it, YouTube themselves are sponsoring this portion of the video, which is kind of wild. I use YouTube Premium all the time, so let's talk about it. So big picture, what is YouTube Premium? Well, it allows you to enjoy YouTube without interruptions. It streamlines the experience and it elevates it to something that I enjoy even more. Obviously, no ads. You get background play. You can turn off your phone and keep having it playing, or you can download the videos directly to your device and you can play them on the airplane. And even though you're not viewing any ads, you're actually still supporting the creators you watch. More so even, you're kind of like a super viewer. Part of your subscription actually goes directly to those creators based on who you view as opposed to just everyone on YouTube. There are so many benefits to YouTube Premium, so much so that I would actually lose all my other streaming services before YouTube Premium. So if that sounds interesting to you, we got a link in the description. YouTube's hooking it up. You get 2 free months of premium, and you can actually start watching this video right now, which is chunky, ad-free. Okay, enough of that. Let's get back to Alien Romulus, probably my favorite film of the year. Let's do it. Alien started becoming a different type of franchise.
I'll do the fingering.
But then, out of nowhere, Alien Romulus comes out. And it's a really great movie that combines practical effects with CG in a really interesting way. One of the things this movie really nails is just how creepy facehuggers really are. These are just spiders with tails. Yeah. And that's not great.
Oh, it's tongue? They have tongues? Oh yeah, they put their tongue in your mouth, huh?
The facehuggers wake up and they want to do some hugging.
That's more than hugging.
There has been almost no behind the scenes stuff about the visual effects for this movie released yet. We don't know whether or not any of these facehuggers are actually practical or if they've been replaced with CG doubles, because they did actually have a whole bunch of practical facehuggers on set and they look pretty sweet. So I'm pretty sure that's a real one.
Yeah, that looks practical to me.
Definitely.
Because also like all the texture on the window, the smudges, the slime.
Yeah, and I would imagine any of the ones that are unmoving.
Like it would make sense for that one in the background there on the left to be a real one.
And the right as well. There's one that's unmoving up there as well.
Because you have these practical things on set, it wouldn't be that hard to add a digital one and make it look identical, especially when they're not really doing anything.
That looked weird.
That looked like an actual puppet on a wire.
But without the leg animations. Yes, it looks weird.
The legs are technically moving, but it's moving a lot faster than the legs should be moving, because I know how this thing was moving. See those little sacks in the back?
Oh, the little sack.
Yeah, the little like,
Dang it.
They had wheels in them. They drove them around like little RC cars.
Oh, really?
Oh.
And all of the legs would move as they drove them around.
That.
But we don't see any wheels there. They've been painted out, I think. That's a pretty easy shot. You can do that in After Effects. It's like not that big of a deal. And most of the shot stays real.
And a CG tail replacement.
CG
think
tail
so?
replacement? You think?
You can tell by the shadow around the edge of the tail at the very end.
Are you talking about like that really dark ambient occlusion?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe not. Who knows? Hard to say.
Who knows?
Oh, they're definitely geared to like have the legs move when the wheels only move. They're not quite.
They're not on.
Yeah, they're very much like.
Yeah.
I'm sure the editors and everyone watching it was like, wait, those feet were sliding. I'm sure someone noticed it. So I wonder how much of the decision was intentional to leave it.
I don't think anybody would be pulled out of the film from seeing that little guy glide on the ground a little bit, and it does make it feel real and tangible. It's probably practical with the wheels painted out, I would bet.
So you remember the turret on a Steadicam from Aliens? Mm-hmm. They're heat-seeking and auto-target. Mm-hmm. Well, they brought that back in a really epic way.
Oh, sweet. Man, the aesthetic of this movie is very Alien 1.
Mm-hmm. It really is, yeah.
See?
It's so locked on.
Only one way to find out.
Oh, yeah. I can see they're doing a lot of practical, like sparks and squibs and stuff. There's something that visual effects artists never get right with sparks. It's, you know, a little hot piece of metal or something like that, and it's burning. But at the very end of that spark's life, it goes and splits. So if you look at that close-up of the alien with the practical, I assume practical sparks, see how you got some of the sparks that go and they turn to little flowers, almost like little fireworks? In CG, they tend to use particles that give you like the bright white lines or the bright dots, but then they never have them die and go.
I think they must be actually blowing up some real versions of these xenomorphs in all the close-up shots.
This looks great. It has to be practical there. Great use of like liquid sims. You're not trying to mimic something that's real now. You're doing something that's like fully like imaginary and like in the world of the computer.
And you're getting those fun like strands of surface tension.
Yeah. Niko, there's something that I really need to show you. The only thing in this entire movie that I feel doesn't really work is a giant creative choice made.
Oh, dude, that arm is so gnarly.
This is the original.
This is technically a brand new character named Rook. And I just remember thinking, oh, I know where this is going, but they're doing a really good job hiding his face.
Get out.
Whoa. Ooh. That's a deepfake for sure. That's a deepfake with a lot of comping. Did they make a puppet of Ian and then deepfake the puppet?
Niko, that is exactly what they did.
Perfect.
Oh, that was a bold maneuver.
So, for some important context, Sir Ian Holm passed away several years ago, so they couldn't actually cast him in this movie. The filmmakers did get permission from his estate and all that, so it was like ethically included into the movie. Are you familiar with the company called Metaphysic? Mm-hmm. They're the ones who did these shots. And the reason why this isn't just a regular deepfake is because there's not a performance underneath it driving it.
Yeah.
Normally when we do a deepfake, it's like, all right, we have a person here doing a performance and we're just swapping out the face. The puppet they made has like motors and stuff. It does articulate, but it's not gonna be like lifelike, right?
Right.
And so their idea was to like, they'll just deepfake the eyes, maybe a little bit of the mouth to get some more expression and whatnot, but keep the rest of it like that android appearance.
Man, my first reaction was like, why would you use a puppet? The whole point of a deepfake is that you get the real motion of a face and then you render it to look like a real face. Whereas like, you know, the puppet already looks real, but you don't have the motion. I feel like you'd want the opposite of a deepfake. But then I also realized that they actually probably want a little bit of the mechanical puppet look because he's a broken android.
He's kind of falling apart, so if he's looking a little kind of weird, then that makes sense. But it's not the right kind of weird, you know? We're in the uncanny valley where we're not seeing anything that's real as opposed to a broken android, you know?
Yeah, it needs to be like mechanical weird, not like rendering weird.
Part of me wishes that they only deepfaked the eyes and left the animatronic mouth. That being said, it's pretty well done.
It is.
It's pretty well done,
Yeah.
so it's very difficult to point out how it's not working.
The perspective of the teeth.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about a deepfake, you gotta basically train the computer on a bunch of pictures of that person's face. So you probably have a bunch of pictures of Ian Holm, you know, from the original film. They're using a whole bunch of stuff. But you probably don't have a lot of pictures from him like this, looking at his teeth. And so you're kind of getting the effect of a front-on texture or video being projected onto him and then being tilted back. So it's almost like the video itself is being tilted back and you're getting that flat movie sprite
Like
effect.
a mesh warp, yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to like being able to see different perspectives of the actual teeth inside his mouth.
And that's a
Painted
very
movie on top of
subtle
it.
thing that's happening just inside of his mouth.
Yes, but you kind of see it because, you know, the human eye looks at the mouth. Like there it looks better, right? You can see
With front on.
Yeah, you're getting the correct perspective of the lips.
Yeah, and then we have a shot like this, which is arguably the best looking shot of the movie. That actually looks like Ian Holm there. But that's because he's only performing this.
It's just the eyes, basically. That puppet's amazing, by the way. Or that animatronic, I guess.
Yeah, with like the face melted and different.
Incredible. And can you imagine building something this high quality and then being like, all right, now we got to start melting parts of it. And it's like, there's no going back. If you botch this, like...
So supposedly what they did here, I'm not exactly sure how they pulled it off, but his right hand, I think, was a real person's hand, and the left hand was an animatronic one.
Oh, they puppeted it. That's sick.
And a challenge for actually building this version of him too is that they didn't have any sculpts of his head from when he was that old. They had to track down Bilbo Baggins. And so he had aged up a little bit, so they basically took a scan of his mold from when they filmed Lord of the Rings, and then they had to go and re-sculpt it based off of imagery from the first movie to just kind of make it look more like him. And as far as that goes, I think they did an excellent job.
Yeah, they really did.
The deepfake, putting on a puppet's really interesting. A really interesting way to solve this problem. Don't think it quite worked 100%.
But the thing that I love more than anything in this movie is the set of outer space. Literally, when it goes to outer space, my jaw dropped. I was just like,
Oh, didn't SpaceX launch this morning?
Did it?
Later.
Sick. Oh, that looks rad.
This movie did outer space rendering and physics very well. Anytime we're looking at something outside, there's no bounce light, only direct light. Then we see these rings, like Saturn's rings, and they're all moving in a really interesting way. It's like,
That's so
good.
cool.
Look at it, the way it sits on top, dude.
Catching light and sparkling.
Oh, that little bit of added depth
This stuff
just
is
adds
tough
so
to
much.
do, man. This is tough VFX right here.
These are just artists just flexing.
And then they get to the spaceship, but all I'll say is that those were Chekhov's planetary rings.
Oh man, are we gonna go into the rings?
Oh, you know it.
Oh, sick! That's so cool. Yes. What a cool idea.
I love this shot so
Oh
much.
yes, hold it, hold it. Don't cut away. Don't cut away. I want to see it get ground up in the ring. Come on. Keep it. Keep it. Yes. Yes. Sick.
Look at all those particles.
Oh, this looks rad.
Oh, look at the dust kick up. That's so
sparkles.
sick.
This was one of the coolest moments I've ever had watching a movie in a theater. I wanted to just cheer. Because you're right, they were holding on these shots, and like, just look at how beautiful that is. Just the orange on the blue and the ice mountains and the rings, I guess. I don't know, gravity's weird. I don't know how it works.
So something that really impresses me about the rings scene is like little sparkles that are happening. Like if you go outside in a freshly fallen snow, you can see the little ice flakes picking up sunlight.
Yeah.
And you're getting that here, but the thing is, when the object giving that emission or catching that reflection is less than a pixel big, which they would be in this shot, you run into an issue where in your rendering engine, sometimes your virtual camera will see that little object and it'll pick it up. And sometimes it won't. And then you'll have a frame where it's there and a frame where it disappears and pops in and out.
You get flickering.
You get flickering, or fireflies as people like to call them sometimes as well. But this stuff is really challenging here with this like ring because you have all these tiny little rocks that are catching light and flickering, but it doesn't feel like aliasing. I don't know how they're approaching it.
Yeah, how would you render something like that? Like super sample it? The idea of like you over render the size, like render out like a giant resolution thing even though you're only gonna be exporting at 4K.
You can definitely super sample it, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those glints of light are almost like a post effect. Where they're basically doing a particle pass and then having another program just turn on certain dots and particles, more of a controlled filter that they're kind of doing over the effect. Basically a shader, so to speak.
I have a feeling that spaceship in the bottom right was filmed for real.
You could be right.
I mean, totally could be, yeah.
Oh wow, look at that. That's the shot right there.
That is the shot.
That's literally the shot.
That's straight up the shot.
That's hilarious.
Okay.
And they're filming on a probe lens. And again, I don't know how much of this ends up getting used in the final film. There's so much that they actually did for real in this movie, and I'm not saying that practical is better than CG, but it does help inform what the CG should look like. So it's always best to augment something that's done for real rather than to invent something. Are there any other series that we should take a look at as like a conglomerate sort of react? Leave a comment down below with a suggestion. Maybe we'll take a look at it. See you later, everyone. See you next week.
Bitch.